I felt his fingers at the clasp behind my neck, adjusting the necklace with deliberate care. In the soft light of the bedroom, we stood side by side, our reflection clear in the mirror. Only the bedside lamps were on, casting everything else in shadow, including the hallway behind us. And someone was there, watching. I didn't speak. Neither did my husband. But when he leaned in and whispered something low and quiet against my ear, I knew this wasn't just about the necklace anymore. His fingertips brushed against my skin as he shifted the pendant, nudging it gently. "Still not quite right," he said. "Let's try without it." I laughed under my breath. "Since when do you care about jewelry?" Still, I reached up and unclasped it, letting the chain fall into my hand. The metal was warm from my skin. I lingered for a beat, caught in the intimacy of the moment, until I saw it. A shape. A silhouette. Not the trick of light. Not my imagination. There was a man in the hallway, standing just inside the threshold. Silent. Watching. I hadn't heard a door. Hadn't sensed anyone else in the house. My breath hitched. But I didn't turn. He wasn't watching my husband. He was watching me. My fingers curled around the necklace instinctively, but before I could speak, my husband leaned closer again and whispered, "Go on." The chain pressed into my palm, the imprint of it like a memory. In the mirror, I met the stranger's gaze, steady, unreadable, calm. Then, without a word, he stepped forward into the room. Deliberate. Unhurried. Like he knew exactly where to go. I laid the necklace gently on the vanity, careful not to make a sound. The man reached out and touched my hand, his fingers brushing mine with confidence, not demand. He studied my hand as though reading something only he could see. Then his thumb traced across my knuckles and paused. I glanced at my husband in the mirror. He didn't speak, just met my gaze with a quiet, steady look. A wordless yes. The stranger let go of my hand, only to raise his to my cheek. The back of his fingers brushed lightly along my skin. I didn't flinch. Didn't blink. My body responded before I could decide whether or not to. He leaned in close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath, but still, no one spoke. I closed my eyes, the silence thickening around us. His presence was gravitational. Quiet but impossible to ignore. Behind me, my husband shifted, stepping slightly aside, making room. The man didn't move again. He simply was, and I let the moment settle, let it wrap itself around me like a second skin. I wasn't breathless, but I was wide awake. I raised my hand and placed it gently over his. He didn't pull away, just remained steady, present. I felt my husband's footsteps behind me, slow, deliberate. I didn't look back. I simply breathed. As I shifted, I felt the edge of the bed press behind my knees. I sat slowly, the mattress dipping beneath me. The silk of my blouse whispered against my skin. They stood close, neither touching. Not yet. And that restraint, the stillness of it, was louder than anything they could have said. I looked up at the man, his eyes trained only on me. I took his hand and placed it over my thigh, just where mine had been. He let it stay unmoving. I leaned back, catching myself with my palms. My body softened, poised but open. Breath caught, then released. My husband's hand rested on my shoulder, grounding me. The guest moved slightly, only to adjust the blanket beside me, the motion gentle, neutral, like a question without a voice. My husband's fingers found mine beneath the fabric. A quiet reminder. I held on, time slowed. No one asked anything. There was no plan, no cue. Just three bodies suspended in mutual awareness. Present. The guest's hand hovered near my thigh, close enough to feel. Not touching. My husband stood behind me, solid and familiar. I exhaled, letting my hands fall to the blanket. My husband kissed my temple, then my cheek. Then, with aching slowness, the center of my palm. Each gesture deliberate. Each one grounding me deeper. I didn't need words. The guest's hand shifted again, barely, and I traced the pattern in the blanket with my fingertips. A line I hadn't crossed, but maybe wanted to. My husband whispered something soft against my ear. I didn't catch the words, but I felt what he meant. I reached out with one hand, resting it on the guest's shoulder, not pulling him closer. just connecting. My other hand remained between us, a quiet space still held. And then I stopped moving. I let everything settle, the tension, the silence, the charged possibility. I turned toward my husband, almost speaking. But the words weren't needed. I just breathed and stayed right in that moment. And if you had been there in that quiet room, would you have waited for a signal? Or stepped in?